Since admins in Microsoft 365 have elevated privileges, they're no doubt valuable targets for cyber attackers. Hi, I'm Brian Riley, one of the engineers here at LiftOff, with 7 ways to protect these powerful yet vulnerable accounts in Microsoft 365. Before we jump in, just a quick intro. I think you know us by now, but as a reminder, LiftOff helps organizations get started with their Microsoft 365. We specialize in licensing for the Microsoft Commercial Cloud, Government Community Cloud, and GCC High. And we can also help with your data migrations to the Microsoft Cloud and get you trained up on your Microsoft 365 tenant. Check us out at liftoffonline.com. Okay, on to today's video. Okay, the first way to protect your global admin account is to separate this global admin from your regular user account. This will minimize the exposure of this highly privileged account, since you likely won't be using it every day like your normal email account. Let me show you what I mean here in our demo GCC High environment. By the way, everything I show you here today is relevant for whatever Microsoft 365 cloud that you're in, commercial, GCC, or GCC High. Let's head over to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center into Active Users. Here's my everyday user account, Brian. This is the one that I use for email, OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams, etc. Now, what I would like to do is use a separate admin account so that whenever I need to add a user, reset a password, or do other admin activities, all I'll do is log in using an incognito or in private browser session and do those administrative tasks and then log out. So if I click add a user here, I can start to create my admin account that I'm going to use. This leads us into the second way to protect your global admin account, and that is to create your account with a unique display name, username, and even domain. The idea here is, if an attacker is trying to crack your admin credentials, we want to make it as difficult as possible for them to identify which of your accounts is the admin. When we're adding a user here, we're going to skip first name and last name since they're not required, and we don't want to provide extra information on our admin account that's not required. For the display name, you can use whatever you want. One recent client we had apparently likes poultry because he came up with the display name Rooster Farmer pretty quickly. Another used the name of his best friend in first grade, Tucker Barnes. One that I thought of recently was MacGyver. He was the 80s TV character that could make a bomb out of a paperclip and seemingly do everything. I love that show, so let's go ahead and use him for this example. For the domain, don't change this to your vanity domain, which might be listed on your website or in other places. Instead, leave it set to the .on Microsoft domain to make this account difficult to identify. For the password, it doesn't really matter since we're ultimately going to be turning on MFA, but you should probably still use a complex password that you can generate from a password manager if you use one. We want to create this global admin without a product license because we don't want to have to pay for this. It's not recommended by Microsoft to do this because, of course, they want to sell you an extra license. For the roles, we're going to create this account as a global administrator. And notice I'm getting a warning here that maybe I have too many global admins, so watch out for that. There we go. MacGyver is created. Next up is number 3, using the principle of least permissive roles for admins. This means giving admins only the access they need to get their jobs done. If you recall, when we created MacGyver earlier, we were warned about having too many global admins. Microsoft recommends having no more than 5 global admins. Let's see if we have any global admins that can have a more limited admin role but still get their work done. If I filter by global admins, let's see what we have. Well, I have this PowerShell admin here that probably doesn't need the full power of being a global administrator. I can probably use role-based access control, or RBAC, to make this user an Exchange administrator or something like that so they can still run their PowerShell scripts. Let's go ahead and do that. If I manage roles here, I'm going to change this user to be an Exchange administrator and not a global administrator. Save changes. Next up, the number 4 way to protect your admins: do not sync admin accounts with local Active Directory. The Microsoft Enter Connect tool allows organizations to sync Microsoft 365 identities with local Active Directory. Configuring this allows staff to use the same password for logging into their local PC, as well as all of their Microsoft 365 apps. But you don't want to do this for your admins. Creating a pathway between your local infrastructure and the cloud risks infecting both environments if either is ever compromised. Don't do that. Number 5, configure MFA with conditional access policies. MFA is no longer just a suggested best practice. No, it's a critical security step to keep you and your organization safe. And conditional access is the best way to configure MFA in Microsoft 365. Creating conditional access policies is only possible if you have enhanced Microsoft licenses. If you have Entra Premium or Business Premium or any of the Microsoft 365 Enterprise products, you're going to be able to do conditional access policies. So, how do you create these policies? If you head over to the Entra Admin Center, click on Protection and then Conditional Access, and then Policies, notice we have the ability to create a custom new policy, or we can create a new policy from template. Let's go ahead and do that. I really like this area of conditional access because Microsoft has mocked up conditional access policies based on certain themes that might be interesting for your organization's security posture. The one that I'm targeting here for this demo is MFA for admins, but you can really create whatever conditional access policies that you want. Things like blocking legacy authentication, blocking logins from outside of the United States, or a conditional access policy for MFA for all staff are probably pretty important policies for you. But for now, we're going to create this MFA policy for admins. We'll go ahead and click Next, Review, and Create. On this screen, I can kind of look at what's going on here. I've got a name. The policy will be created in report-only mode. Here are the roles that I'm targeting. It's going to be all Microsoft 365 apps, not just Exchange. And we're going to grant access and require MFA. Let's go ahead and create this. If I click into the policy now, I can review anything that I want. One thing that I'll point out is this is going to include specific directory roles. These are all of the admins that Microsoft deems vulnerable. And I'll also point out that we have an exclude button here. I'm going to talk about this in another step coming up in just a minute or two. For this demo, I'm going to leave this policy at report only, but of course for you, you're going to want to turn this on for all of your admins. Home stretch, just a few more to go. Next up, number 6, which is to create a break glass global admin. While creating security policies, it's relatively easy to click the wrong button and accidentally lock everyone out of your Microsoft 365 tenant. Over the years, we've had several clients do this, and trust me, it's a bad day when you're on the phone with Microsoft support trying to prove who you are with an old phone or water bill so they'll unlock the door for you. Another relatively common scenario is the one and only global admin has left the organization and nobody on staff seems to know how to access their Microsoft 365 tenant. Microsoft recommends an emergency access account to handle these situations. Once created using the principle described earlier in the video, you could exclude this admin from your conditional access policies, essentially giving this user keys to the back door. Here are my active users. Notice I've already created a break glass emergency access account. I've called it BG, but you can call it whatever you want. Again, trying to make this account not easily identifiable to the bad guys. Moving back over to conditional access, I've created a few more conditional access policies. And what I want to do here is I want to click into each one and include all users, but exclude my new emergency access BG account. So I'll go ahead and do that. Remember, when I created the policies earlier, it excluded my current user, which is my Brian admin account. So now I want to include that user, but exclude my BG account. The concept of this break glass is so important. Microsoft even warns you down here in this little box here. Don't lock yourself out. Exclude the current user, or in our case, create a break glass account that can access the account in case of an emergency. So I understand what's happening here. I've excluded a different user. I'll go ahead and click save. And notice this is a demo. I'm leaving this at report only for your organization. As long as you have that break glass account, you can safely turn these policies on. I'll go ahead and do this for all of my policies now and come back in a minute. Okay, I'm back. I've got my new global admin, it's called BG, excluded from all of my conditional access policies. But I know what you're thinking. What about MFA for the break glass account? Isn't that important? Well, you're right. So let's go ahead and create an MFA policy just for our emergency access account, kind of to recognize the independence that this account has from the other admins. New policy. MFA for BG. Now my user is not going to be all users, it's going to be select users. Let's go ahead and do BG. Access controls, we're going to grant access but require MFA and select. Again, I am going to leave this at report only. For your organization, you're going to want to turn this on eventually. The final step here is to have multiple IT staff members log in as the break glass emergency access account to establish their own phishing-resistant MFA methods. Passkeys, YubiKeys, or even the Microsoft Authenticator app can all be used here. The point is you want to have multiple people having the ability to use their own MFA to access this account in case one person is not there. A quick way to add an MFA method is to log in at aka.ms/MFA setup in the commercial and GCC cloud. In the GCC High, that link is different, aka.ms/govt MFA setup. And finally, the seventh way to protect your global admin account, and that is to access it only in a private browsing session. Anytime you're logging into your account, be sure to take the time to start a fresh, private, in private, or incognito browser session. I prefer the Brave browser, but you can use whatever browser that you want. Just be sure to open a private window. Don't save your credentials to the browser, and be sure to close all browser tabs when you're finished.
If you found this video helpful, please consider commenting, liking, and subscribing to this YouTube channel. Thanks so much for watching.